The cafeteria at Mark Reynolds' company was buzzing with chatter that ordinary Wednesday afternoon. Forks clinked against plates, colleagues whispered in hushed circles, and a faint hum of laughter rolled across the room. Mark, however, sat in silence, his eyes heavy with exhaustion and his heart weighed down by a truth he hadn't spoken aloud in months. He wasn't just tired from his job, he was tired from carrying secrets no man should have to bear. Secrets about corruption. Secrets about betrayal. Secrets that could shatter everything if they ever came to light. But the moment that unraveled everything didn't come from his boss, his coworkers, or even from the dangerous files stored on his desk. It came from the soft voice of his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, one evening at home. She had been playing with her toys in the living room when she tilted her head curiously and asked, "Daddy, who put that camera there?" In that instant, Mark's world stopped. His blood ran cold, and his chest tightened like a vice. He turned his head slowly, his eyes following Lily's tiny finger pointing toward the corner of the ceiling, where a small, black lens blinked faintly red. Before we dive deeper into this powerful story, I want to pause here and ask you something. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in stories that remind us of the goodness within people, then please like this video, comment below, share it with others, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel Kindness Stories. Your support helps us keep telling stories that inspire hearts around the world. Mark's hand trembled as he stood up. He had never noticed the camera before, not in his own home. It was hidden so well against the molding of the wall that only Lily's innocent, curious eyes could have caught it. He climbed on a chair, ripped the device from the corner, and stared at it with disbelief. It wasn't a baby monitor. It wasn't his. It was a surveillance camera, and it was recording him inside his home. Fear slashed through him like a blade. Who had put it there? Why? He had always suspected something strange at work. His boss had been pushing him to approve contracts filled with forged numbers, asking him to look the other way while millions of dollars were siphoned into offshore accounts. Mark had refused. He had thought the matter was closed. But now, holding the cold, black device in his hand, he realized they weren't done with him. They were watching him. They had entered his home. That night, Mark couldn't sleep. Every creak in the hallway, every passing car outside, every faint whisper of the wind felt like a threat. He sat awake in the dim light of the living room, staring at Lily's bedroom door, silently vowing to keep her safe no matter the cost. She was all he had left after his wife had walked out years ago, unable to handle the weight of his struggles. Lily was his everything, and now she was in danger simply because he had chosen to do the right thing. The following morning, Mark drove Lily to school. She noticed his pale face and quiet demeanor, but he forced a smile for her sake. As soon as she was gone, he headed straight to the police station, the camera clutched in his hands. But what he didn't expect was the cold response he received. The officer glanced at the device, raised his eyebrows, and then whispered as he leaned closer. "You need to be careful, Mr. Reynolds. The people you're dealing with, well, they don't like losing. If I were you, I'd keep your head down." Mark left with a sick feeling in his stomach. Even the authorities were too afraid to help. He was alone. At home that evening, he tore apart every corner of the house, searching for more devices. He found 3. One in the kitchen, another behind the TV, and one terrifyingly close to Lily's bed. Rage boiled in his chest, but alongside it was despair. They weren't just after him anymore, they were invading the innocence of his daughter's world. He smashed the cameras to pieces, yet he knew it was only a temporary fix. Days turned into weeks, and the pressure mounted. At work, his boss grew more hostile. Whispered threats disguised as friendly advice. Emails warning him to stay quiet. Subtle hints that they knew where Lily went to school, what time she came home, even the exact route she walked with her backpack swinging behind her. Mark's hands would shake every time he read those words, but he refused to sign the fraudulent documents. He couldn't sell his integrity, not when his daughter was watching his every move, learning from the kind of man her father chose to be. One evening, Mark sat across from Lily at the dinner table. She had drawn a picture of the two of them holding hands under a big blue sky, with the words, "Me and Daddy Forever," written in shaky letters across the top. He stared at that drawing for a long time. His daughter believed in him with a purity that could shatter stone. She didn't know the dangers circling their home like vultures. She didn't know how close her father was to breaking. It was then he made his decision. He wouldn't run. He wouldn't bow down to men who thought they could buy silence with fear. He would fight back, not with violence, but with truth. Mark began gathering evidence. Every email, every suspicious invoice, every hidden detail buried in company records. He stayed up late at night, carefully piecing together a trail that could expose everything. He encrypted files, stored copies in multiple places, and created a digital map that revealed the corruption for what it was. His heart raced with both fear and determination. But the breaking point came when he came home one night and found Lily's teddy bear lying in the driveway, soaked from the rain. He knew she never left it outside. His chest collapsed with panic as he realized it was a warning. They had been inside his house again, close enough to touch the things his daughter loved most. That night, as Lily slept soundly in her bed, Mark stood at her door, his fists clenched, his eyes filled with tears. He whispered a promise into the quiet air, "No one will take you from me. No one." The next morning, Mark sent the evidence he had collected to 3 major newspapers and an independent journalist he trusted. Within days, the story exploded across headlines: "Whistleblower exposes multi-million-dollar corporate fraud." The names of his bosses were plastered across every channel, their crimes revealed in black and white. The backlash was immediate. His bosses were arrested, handcuffed in front of cameras that once only served their power. Mark, however, found no relief in the spectacle. He still feared retaliation, still wondered if some shadow would knock on his door in the middle of the night. But as weeks passed, the danger began to fade. The company was dismantled, the criminals faced justice, and the cameras in his home never returned. Life slowly returned to normal. Mark still carried scars of fear, the memories of sleepless nights, and the knowledge that he had nearly lost everything. But one evening, as he sat with Lily on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky, she leaned against him and said, "Daddy, you're my hero." Tears filled his eyes. For the first time in months, he allowed himself to breathe deeply. All the fear, the struggle, the loneliness, it had been worth it for that single moment. He wasn't perfect, but he had fought to be the kind of man his daughter believed he was. And that's the power of a single question from a child. "Daddy, who put that camera there?" It changed everything. It awakened courage he didn't know he had, and it reminded him of the responsibility carried in the eyes of a child who depends on you. If this story touched your heart, I ask you from the bottom of mine. Please like this video, share it with friends, leave a comment, and subscribe to Kindness Stories. Every action you take helps us spread more light, more courage, and more kindness in the world. And before we close, I have one special request for you. Comment below with the words, "Stand for truth," if you believe that courage, no matter how small, can change everything. Mark's story is a reminder that sometimes, the bravest thing a parent can do is simply refuse to give in. And when a child looks up at you with eyes full of faith, that's when you realize, you have all the strength you'll ever need.